You are listening to the Yummy Mummy Podcast, episode number 164.
Welcome to the Yummy Mummy Podcast, where you will learn brand new and shockingly different tools to lose weight for the last time. And now, here's your host, certified life and weight loss coach, Laura Conley.
Hello, Yummy Mummies. What is happening? Happy New Year. Oh my God. This is the year, people. This is it. This is the one. To kick off this year, we have the one and only Sarah Crystal, my beloved client, and she is going to share a little bit about her journey inside the Yummy Mummy experience. And guess what? Doors are open. So if you want to be like Sarah and be sitting in this hot seat or not in 6 months or so, this is your ticket. So just go to lauraconley.com, click work with me, and get your booty in there. We're going to start on January 17th, and we're going to lose weight for the last freaking time. So welcome to the podcast, Sarah. Will you introduce yourself to us and tell us a little bit about your story, how you found the Yummy Mummy, why you decided to take the leap of faith, all that good stuff?
Sure. Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm Sarah. I am 40 years old. I am a mom of 4. I'm a clinical psychologist in my professional life, and I'm a yummy mummy. So I guess in terms of like my story and how I got here, I have honestly struggled with weight and basically being ashamed of my body or not loving my body truly ever since I was aware of my body and myself. I've always been tall. I'm 5'10". I've always been just sort of like thicker and bigger than everyone. And as a woman, that's really challenging. And as a little girl, that was super challenging. And so I think my like low self-esteem and just worrying about my body and being very self-conscious started really early. I was teased in elementary school about my weight, my body, things like that. And so then, you fast forward to being an adult, like those things don't go away, right? We're never really like taught how to deal with those things. So all of that kind of stays with me. I become an adult, and starting to have kids, I think really intensified everything and took everything to a new level with my body and the shame around my body and disgust I felt around my body. I've given birth to 4 kids. My last 2 kids were twins. And so like being pregnant, and I went through some fertility treatments. And so just being pregnant, being postpartum, doing fertility treatments, all that stuff, like really just wreaked havoc on my body. I gained over 100 pounds when I was pregnant with my twins, which was my last pregnancy. And then I lost some of that weight on my own, but my body was really wrecked and messed up. I had severe diastasis recti. My boobs were like pointing down, going to my belly button deflated. And so I had lost some of the weight, but all of that stuff was still there. And so I actually decided to get plastic surgery. And so I think it was January of 2021, I ended up having plastic surgery. I had a tummy tuck. And I had a breast lift, which honestly, it was life-changing in a lot of ways. I can't deny that. It fixed a lot of like the internal damage to my abdomen, my diastasis recti, right? Like it lifted my boobs, it changed their shape. And so after that surgery, there was a huge change in my body for sure. But what was so interesting is that I thought that after this surgery, like all the difficulty with my weight, my negative thoughts about my body, like all of that, I really thought like this was it. It was solved. All of that was going to disappear. I thought surgery was like this solution to this lifelong problem with weight and my body. But what happened was little by little after my surgery, I started to gain weight. I started to feel like out of control with my eating, right? I still overate at times. I ate my feelings. I just was still not happy with my body. And I still didn't feel like I had any control over my weight or how to gain and lose or keep weight off. And so it was like this super interesting moment where I was like, crap, like this surgery, it didn't fix what was really going on underneath all of this stuff. It didn't change how I saw myself. It didn't change how I ate. It didn't change how I related to food. Like all the important stuff was still hugely problematic and like constantly going on for me. So then my weight kind of went up. It went down a little. I was still obsessed with all this stuff. So then over the summer, I guess like a year or maybe more after that, I was like 10 pounds up from my post-surgery weight. And I ended up seeing like a mom acquaintance post something on Instagram about doing YMX. And I was like, she looked great. She was like, I've lost all this weight. Like my whole life has changed. So I clicked, she had tagged YMX. So I clicked on it, spent however long going down the social media rabbit hole of like, what is this? And ended up on your website and seeing all these testimonials about women who said, like, not only had they lost weight, but they'd become these totally different people, better versions of themselves. And it just really felt serendipitous for me. There's some other backstory stuff about things like going on with my mental health. And I had dealt with depression and I was doing all this stuff. I had dealt with a lot of things, but I just like wasn't in a very good place, I would say. I still just felt sort of like meh and blah. Yeah. And I was gaining weight and I just had all this stuff that was like still there, even though I was doing a lot of stuff to help myself. So I think like hearing all these testimonials and being in your website, it really did. Like, it was like this serendipitous moment where I was like, okay, I've tried so many things. I've tried really everything that I know about to try. And maybe this is like the next and really the last thing that I'm going to need to do in my wellness journey. And I think I have about 5 days, I guess the end of July, until the August group is going to start. And I was really nervous. And I was like, oh my God, $5,000. Like, I have 5 days. Like, what really is this? Like, I don't really know. And I didn't even ask my husband, and I like knew he was going to be angry with me for dropping $5,000. But I just remember sitting in my car at pickup at my kids' camp, and I was just like, screw it. Like, I'm doing this. And I just like pressed the button, signed up, kind of held my breath.
I remember talking to you and you were like, oh my God. It was the moment that everybody has though. They're like, I just got to take this leap of faith.
And I had 5 days. I was like, if it's not now, I don't know when the next one's going to be. Like, I'm sort of at this pinnacle moment where I have to do something now. I was so ready. I wanted to so badly to take a step, and I didn't know what that step was. So this opportunity just presented itself at like the exact right time for me.
I love that. Oh my God. You hit on so many points. We were talking about it before we hit record. But the plastic surgery point is just so helpful to just like kind of talk about and just like put it out there, because I know so many of us are considering it or we've been through it and it didn't do what we wanted to do. Yes, on some levels it does. Like, I love that it fixed like your diastasis, but like, it's not a magic pill. It's still not the root work. And there's no magic pill. As much as we're desperate for a magic pill, this is like the closest thing to it, but there's so many unexpected benefits that come along with it too. I love that you not only wanted to lose weight, but you also wanted to like, stop feeling meh. And I get so many clients that are like, I just feel like I have this like kind of low level depression, or I don't feel like myself, like energetically, physically, mentally, emotionally. So I love that you hit on that point. And so tell us kind of like where you are now. You're like 5-ish, 4.5 months in. Tell us like how much weight you've lost. How do you feel now? Like, give us a little bit of your after.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, gosh, it's like so night and day. It's like, I don't even know where to start with this question, but concretely, I have lost 25 pounds as of today, which is just wild too, because when I started, I honestly like didn't even know what I was going for. Like, I knew I wanted to lose weight, but I didn't even know what my number was. I can't remember at what point in the program we set goals, but I remember kind of Googling. I was like, what does a 5'10" person weigh? What's normal? Like, and I knew my BMI was in the unhealthy range. I forget how they do it, but I knew it was high. So I was like, okay, do I just pick a number that's like in a healthy BMI range? I didn't even know, because my body has always been big and overweight. What's a normal weight for me? Like, what is my goal? I kind of thought that my goal was going to be to lose maybe 10, 15 pounds. I truly had no idea that like a 25-pound weight loss could be possible. And I'm hoping and thinking I probably even have more to lose. So that's super wild.
That is so crazy, but that's so normal. So many people come in and they're like, I have no idea. And you don't have to know either. Like, just for those of you listening, you really don't have to know. You'll kind of learn as you go, which has been your case. And freaking awesome. 25 pounds. That's so amazing. So good.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's wild. It's like 2 full sizes.
That's so cool. Okay. So that's like the concrete. Tell us what else.
I'm trying to even think of where to start. It feels like the fog has just really been like cleared from my brain. I guess that's like one way I would describe it. for the first time, maybe in my life, I can kind of think clearly. I can be present. I can process things. I'm just sort of in control in a way that I never have been before. This has truly impacted me, like in my marriage, me as a parent, even like sort of bleeding into professionally, like kind of clearing up space and allowing me to do things and think about things that I didn't have the space maybe to think about and sort of didn't have like a process to think about before. It's really interesting. Like at this point, kind of at the end, I feel like I'm almost not even thinking about weight anymore. Like this kind of has stopped being about weight, which is what's really interesting. Like I'm still doing the work around my weight and I still want to continue to lose weight, but it's almost like I'm in a flow state related to my weight loss. Like that part's become quote unquote easy because I honestly, like I'm in a flow now. Like it's sort of habitual. I know what I'm doing. And like I'm kind of using all of this stuff in other areas of my life now, if that makes sense.
That is so cool. It's so cool. The ripple effect, I always say like the ripple effect is so, so real. And it's almost like you can't not.
Well, as soon as you connect the dots, I mean, that's like how I am. I'm always like, I'm in it, but then I'm always like at the meta level too, like big picture. So it's like, yes, this is about weight loss, but my God, it's about everything and so much more. So it's like, I can't just stay in this little box of like, no, I'm only doing this related to my weight loss. It's like, no, of course I'm going to do this related to everything. And we do that in the program. It's not like we just stay in this kind of narrow focus, but it's impossible not to apply it out.
I love that. And I love what you're talking about too, because so many of us, well, I've told this story before on the podcast, but before really like niching down or niching down or whatever the people say to just weight loss in my coaching practice, a lot of my focus was on like vision and goals and like helping people take off the golden handcuffs so that they could like, live their dreams, live their best life, like go fulfill their purpose. But so many of us don't even know what that is because the weight is wearing us down physically, mentally, emotionally, especially mentally. It's like, to your point, it's like you don't have the space to dream. You don't have the space to explore because you're so caught up. We're so caught up in what am I eating? What am I not eating? I feel disgusting in my body. Like it's so all consuming. And on the other side of this, I mean, to see what so many of my clients have created is so cool. And I can't wait to see what you create too, because P.S. Sarah's a clinical psychologist, which makes me super nervous because here I am with like a BA in psychology and like my coaching certifications. But to that point, like it's actually really fun to have clinical psychologists come in or other coaches come in or MDs come in and have like huge ahas after ahas because we're really not taught, even in psychology, we're not taught how to actually think and how to actually feel. And I wonder if you could speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think that has been a very interesting piece to me as well about this program. Like, my husband gave me a really good analogy. I'm going to try to, like, he was basically like, so as a psychologist, I had all the ingredients to like lose weight successfully or like XYZ, whatever it is, right? Like I had all the skills, I had all the ingredients, but I could never find a recipe that put all these ingredients and skills that I had together to like do the thing, which like was lose weight, feel better or whatever. And like, for me, YMX was the recipe. Like they were all sitting there perfectly on my counter. Like I could use them whenever I wanted, but I didn't have the recipe to put them together.
Oh, that is the best analogy.
I know, it was so good. I was like, that's awesome. And I think a lot of people probably have that in various degrees, right? Like we know maybe a little bit about cognitive reframing or like a bit about thought work, or we know like a bit about goal setting, or we know mindfulness is good for us or whatever. We know all these little things in sort of silos that help with different things, but there aren't a lot of those things outside of like, especially being a psychologist, it's interesting. And I always struggle with this. Outside of a clinical world, there are very few interventions to help people in their daily regular lives. Like you have to be clinically depressed a lot of times to do X. You have to have PTSD to do X, but we're all like dealing with this stuff on sort of a lower level every single day that messes us up and derails us and doesn't let us live our best lives and do what we want to do. But we don't have access to a lot of these interventions and skills and programs unless we sort of meet that higher level of need. And I think YMX is so amazing because it takes all of the skills that truly come like right out of psychology and right out of evidence-based manuals for treating other things like depression and anxiety, and it makes it so doable and applicable and just like fit right into anybody's regular life in a way that they can do. I knew all of this stuff. I've done interventions with people. So why couldn't I just do it? And it was also hard for me. I was like, what is wrong with me that I couldn't just do what I needed to do? And I had done some of it, but like I said, it was that recipe had never come together before in a way that just made so much sense to me.
I mean, I know you're not alone. Even for those of you that are listening that don't have a PhD in psychology, right? Like, you still feel like you know all the things. I know all these things. Why can't I just get myself to do it? I should be able to do this on my own. I shouldn't have to ask for help. I know exactly what to do. And this is the missing piece. It really is the thing that brings it all together and makes you apply it in a container that's like very loving and supportive, like not to toot my own horn, but to toot my own horn, right? Like it really is that missing piece. And I really want to encourage y'all to not make yourselves bad or wrong for not being able to get there. We're not supposed to, as like human beings, like our species is supposed to do things in community, like together. And I just want to offer that if you do want to do the Yummy Mummy and you have a little bit of shame because you feel like you should know how, there is more strength in asking for help than like continually trying to do it on your own. Just be willing to take that leap of faith. I think being able to be courageous is like so badass, so brave. And that is building a muscle that's making you stronger than continuing to do the same thing you're doing over and over and over again. So I love that you spoke to that. So cool.
And I think like the group piece of it too really can't be undervalued, like how truly important that is. Like, as you said, like we are social animals. We want to be in community. Like our brains get lit up when we connect with other people. And I think for weight loss, I don't know, you just don't think of being with another group of people for weight loss. You think of like going to the gym and like seeing a nutritionist or having a very individualized approach and program, which you do have in YMX. Like that's what's so interesting. Everybody is totally on their own journey and doing their very own unique individual thing and work. But as a group with like people, 30 people to support you and cheer for you and validate you. And I can't like emphasize enough how important that is. Like, I think we just, especially in society today, like we just feel so alone. And I think as women and people who are mothers too, right? Like that's a huge piece of being a mom, just like how alone and isolated you feel, even though you're like around kids and people stuff all day. Like you're not like in community and like sharing in a meaningful way with people. So I think this is so powerful in terms of like meeting that need too, and just like sharing these experiences with other people who are going through all of the same things that you're going through. It's really amazing.
Yeah. I'm so glad you spoke to that because people are nervous about the community. They're like, oh my God, I'm not going to go in there and like air my dirty laundry. But there's so much healing in doing so. And then you don't feel alone. Like you don't feel like the crazy person. And it really does become like kind of a sisterhood. And then I'm so excited for you, Sarah, because hopefully you'll come on the Yummy Mummy Masters retreat. But like the retreat even brings it to a whole nother level. And it does become, as cheesy as it sounds, like a bit of a sisterhood. And if that's like too ick for you, like fine, you just call it friendships.
But no, it's amazing.
It really is. Okay, so like you were talking a little bit about like kind of your before, what you were struggling with, and then your after. If you had to pinpoint like one word that you felt before, like when you were struggling, what would that word be? And like, how do you feel now in one or two words?
Yeah, I think before I just felt a lot of just like chaos and kind of confusion and like out of control.
Yeah.
And I think now I feel very present, very grounded. I feel very sort of like level and calm. and centered, I think, and like connected to myself in a way that I didn't really know how to be before. All of those things have kind of shifted. And what's funny is like my life hasn't changed. Like my life is actually still chaos, like I have 4 kids, 8 and under,
That's
so like
so good.
nothing's changed.
That's so freaking good. Yeah, except for everything that you can control. And that's all that we want, is to be present and connected with our people. Like, I kind of feel like that's like the purpose of life. And that's what you've given yourself. It's so cool. People will come to me and they'll be like, okay, I'm ready to change my whole life. I'm like, no, I don't want you to change your whole life. It's like, I always say, one of my clients, Jennifer, she's like, I had a beautiful life. I just wasn't living it. I just wasn't in it. I was just on the sidelines.
That's
And
exactly how I feel. Like
yeah.
100%. I had this like beautiful life, these beautiful kids. Like a few years ago, we moved into like my dream home. And I was always like, when I get this, when I do that, like I'm going to feel happy. Like I'm going to buy that thing and then I'm going to feel happy. Like that has been my MO my whole life.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, when does that stop? Like, I need to figure out how to be in my life and be happy right now. And I actually somebody in our group posted that she had listened to a podcast by Brooke Castillo, who like maybe is or was one of your coaches.
Yep.
And then anyway, I went down a rabbit hole of like listening to her other podcasts. And then she actually said a quote in one of her podcasts that I wrote down. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know if she said it or if it was someone else, but she was like, I'm going to read it. She goes, there's no happiness that we're going to find in our future that we don't already have now. If happiness comes from our mind and from our thinking, then gaining something is not going to increase our capacity for happiness. And I was just like, yes. Like this is that's the crux of it. I need to work on me and what's internal and my thoughts. Like I have it all right here and right now. And how do I access it and how do I enjoy it? Because I only have this one life and I turned 40 and I wanted to be in it and I wanted to be present.
That's the secret. We're all like hustling around playing like the win then game. Like when I get this, then I'll feel this. When I get this. And it's like, no, it's like the arrival fallacy. And it's like, so yeah, like we do lose weight. We are changing, but from a place of like wholeness and like already, we already have it all right now. And it's just a more pleasant way to live too.
Oh, 100%. It's not a way to live really the other way. I mean, it's just so stressful and so anxiety producing and you're always just sort of on edge and you don't ever have a sense of calm or things are okay. You're sort of always waiting for the other shoe to drop. And I would much rather be like this.
Yeah. I love how you said like, it's not a way to live. You're not actually living. You're just like frenetic hustling.
Yeah. That's what I thought. I was trying to survive always. Like when people would be like, how are you doing? I'd be like, oh, I'm surviving. That was always my answer. Like, and now I'm like, no, I think I'm actually at a place of thriving. Or like before people would be like, how's it going? I was like, it's so busy. Like everything's just so busy. And now I changed to being like, the day was full or like the week, my life is full, right? Like just like that subtle shift of like, I'm so busy and my life is going on around me and I have no control and I'm not really in it till like I had a full weekend. Like we did a lot and it was busy. But like something about full, it's like I was part of it. I was present.
You chose
I lived it. I chose it. Exactly.
Yes, exactly. You're not a victim.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not a victim. I'm not a passenger. It's so different. It feels so different.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about getting yourself over the hump. Like you're sitting in the carpool line. What did you tell yourself to click the button? And what would you tell somebody else who's like really hesitant? Maybe they're freaked out about the money. Maybe they don't believe because they've tried so many things. Like, what would you say to them?
Oh my gosh. I mean, for me in that moment, it was like a do or die. It was like, I can truly say that I've exhausted every other thing that there is. And in that moment, I was really just focused on weight loss. I was like, I've tried literally every single thing I could try to lose weight. The only thing I hadn't tried was like a drug, like Ozempic. And believe me, I did consider it.
Yeah.
Would I take a medication? Who would even prescribe it? Like I sort of mentally went down that rabbit hole, but I was like, I really don't want to do that. So this is the only thing that I know of right now that I haven't done that I can do. And I'm just going to take a risk and take a leap of faith. And the money, it's a lot for sure, but I will spend money and do other things and buy other things. And, you know, and like, so, I mean.
I literally had somebody come over the other day to like quote me on putting drawers in like a closet. It was $5,000 for the drawers. I was like, and then I thought about it. I'm like, how many people are getting drawers in their closets? Lots of fucking people are getting drawers in their closet for $5,000.
Oh God, of course. Or blind, any house thing you want to do. Like, there's $5,000. Like you just sneezed and it's gone, you know? All this stuff. So I was like, and my husband and I, like, we have budgeting things that we do where we like put money in buckets that we're going to use things for. So it's like, okay, like maybe I have to take from a different bucket to pay for this. But at that moment, this is what I needed. I needed it so badly that I was kind of like, even if I didn't have the money in my bank, I probably would have found some way. Like I would have sold something, honestly, or I don't know what I would have done, but I probably would have really, or like asked my parents, or I don't know, like,
you would have figured it out.
I think I would have figured out a way to get the money because I was so desperately in need of something. And so I think I would just tell somebody, and honestly, like listening to the testimonials were really helpful for me because I think just hearing real women tell their stories and talk about how much of a life-changing experience this was. I remember being like, can these people be paid actors? Like, is this real? You know, like, because it was so shocking, you know, to hear people just really gush and be like, this will change your life. And be on the other side, be so far from that and be like, how, really? You know, like it's just, you're so far, you can't see. And it's hard to imagine. So I think I would just tell the other women to listen to what we are telling you. We are not paid actors. We are real people. It will really, truly be worth it for weight loss, for wellness, for so many parts of your life. Like if you can figure out the money, there's no chance you will regret it. Just do it. You've tried everything else.
Yeah. I love what you're saying around like this need. Like I really needed it. That's what you kept saying. And it's like, if our kid really needed something, like we would figure out the $5,000. We would go to bat for them. And it's like, sometimes we don't feel like we're worthy of our needs. And that's a hump to get over too. And I think there's a huge transformation in just signing up, because what you've done is you've shown yourself that you do matter. And when you put yourself on the list or at the top of the list, at least let's get you on the list of like things that are priorities and important. Like you teach your kids that. And that's one of my main reasons for creating the Yummy Mummy is like, how can we pass down a legacy that we're super proud of to our children? Yes, around food and body image and all of that stuff, but also like, I don't want to have kids, like especially my daughter. I don't want her to be a martyr when she grows up. I don't want her to not be on the list. I don't want her to not see me spend money on me, because what is she going to get in turn? And so, yeah, it is, again, it's a leap of faith. It's an act of courage for sure, but it's like so worth it. I don't think we're trained to have a bucket for coaching for our health.
Oh,
like, we're
God,
trained
no.
to have a bucket for emergencies. We're trained to have a bucket for kids fucking camp. Like we're trained, and we're just not trained yet. So here Sarah and I are retraining your brain right now.
And I feel like I'm preaching it out to everybody. I mean, I have 2 sisters. I have so many female friends, and I feel like this is a conversation I have all the time with people. Like, you are important. Like, your kids are not going to be okay and happy. Your marriage is not going to be good if you're not okay. It's just that's just the way it is, you know? You can tell yourself any lie about that that's just not true. I think as moms and women, like we just, it's really sad. And I think like it stems from so many other things, but we just are not supported by like society and communities. And so then we sort of just devalue our own mental health and our self-worth. And like the support that we need, right? And so it
Yeah.
is hard. So
Yeah.
many people I talk to even about this, that I'm like, it would be so good. Oh, I can't, like, I just don't,
Mm,
it's so much money and like I just
mm,
can't do that right now. I'm like,
yeah.
yeah, but you're really struggling. Like,
Yeah.
that's ridiculous. Like, you would get surgery for a heart problem if you needed
Yeah.
it. You would, you know.
It's scary. It's true. It is scary to sign up, and you will feel like ass when you sign up. Or most of you. Some of you will be really excited. But some of you will feel like ass and you'll feel really guilty, and it's just not a reason to not sign up. Feeling scared, feeling guilt, feeling whatever the feeling is like it's a normal part of being human. It's just not a good reason to not do it because I mean, to
Mhm.
your point about like a heart surgery, it's like I think about this all the time. Like the amount of money you're going to save by actually doing this for yourself is huge. Like it's actually exponential. I had one client who like I don't know, they're saving like $30,000 over their lifespan because of her life insurance policy, just that alone. So we talk a lot about like really wanting to feel good in our bodies and to like want to go down the water slide with our kids. And that's like super important, right? To want to wake up and be energized and like put on a cute pair of jeans or whatever. But there's also like the health aspect too. Like when you eat in the way that most of us eat inside the Yummy Mummy, where your hunger hormones are balanced, you prevent so many lifestyle diseases. It's crazy.
Mhm. And something interesting too, I got a like laser eye revision surgery on one of my eyes while I was doing like a couple months ago. And when I was going back for my follow-ups, the doctor was like, I have never seen healing like this. I have never seen like you
Yeah.
have no fogginess, you have no inflammation, you have no blah, blah. And I was like, this is so fascinating. And I
Yeah.
honestly wonder if it's because of what I'm doing and the way that I'm eating and like just like some of the fasting things I've adopted. Like I'm doing all of these things that I know have health benefits around
Yeah.
inflammation and healing and like things in
Yeah.
my body. And then I'm having this like amazing surgical outcome, right? And zero inflammation and blah, blah, blah. And I was like,
That's cool.
I bet that's it. Like, and it was so
Yeah.
cool to see probably this direct correlation around like health and food and lifestyle choices that I'm making in this medical outcome. So it's really cool.
I think that's so amazing. I've heard stories like that so many times. Like I think I was telling our group the other day that I had one Yummy Mommy go in for like dental reconstruction, like gum
Mm.
reconstruction, and they sent her home. They're like, "You don't need anything. Your gums healed themselves." And it's true because the way that we eat is first of all not deprivation inducing. It's not crazy restrictive at all. It's very healing and very anti-inflammatory. And so much of the problems that we're dealing with come from inflammation. Also, to your point about just like feeling better in your life, right? There's probably most likely less stress hormones running rampant throughout your body. The cortisol levels, the adrenaline levels, while those hormones are like very helpful for us, they're only helpful when they're in balance. And when they're like out of whack, we wreak havoc on our bodies.
When I think about how, in like specifically with that and like the huge like rises and crashes with my blood sugar that I used to experience my whole life,
Yep.
and how like it's so shocking. Like I'm almost like, is it magic? Because I was like ruled by hunger. Hunger was like
Yes.
my number one experience, like angry and hungry. Like
Yep.
I was in fear of becoming hangry. Then I
Yeah.
was hangry and living in hanger. I really thought it was like a normal human condition to like that I was like, it's just an unavoidable, awful experience that human beings have.
Yes.
Everyone knows hang, right? Like it's just, and
Oh, yeah.
I swear to you, I do not experience hanger. I would say that since I started this, I have not experienced hanger. I have experienced hunger, but I
Yes.
have not experienced hanger. And I even like I fast now too. And like before, the thought of fasting was terrifying to me because I was so afraid that I was going to experience
Mm.
hanger. I was like, it's not biologically possible. I can't do it. Just wild, like all these things, you know. I really thought that that was going to be such a huge thing, but now like yes, like the hormones with the balance, with the lack of like blood sugar going up and down, it's a totally different experience to like live my life and just feel like even keeled related to like
Yeah.
hunger and hormones and my brain and my mood.
Mhm.
It's really crazy. Or even when I think the other biggest thing about this program too is like, even when you do have some of that, like up and down and whatever, like you have developed skills to kind of come back to like a neutral
Mhm.
state or like a positive, you know how to bring yourself back, you know how to recover. And I
Yeah.
think for me, that's huge too. Just like getting away from that reactivity and being able to recover much faster.
That's so cool. What does your husband say? Like, what are his thoughts?
Oh my God, you need to have him on your podcast.
Oh, I love that.
He is like a huge, I guess, skeptic, honestly. Like, I'm always like, I'm going to try this. He's like, let me send you
Mm.
an article because that's BS. Like, that's everything. I'm like getting sent an article or a this or like to
Oh, that's
Medline.
my
I'm like,
husband
oh
too. This
my
is totally my
God.
husband. I
Yeah,
know.
well, so he's a periodontist. So he's like he's like in the
Yes.
medical world. And he's very evidence-based. Like
Yes.
everything needs to blah, 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 blah.
He's trained. He's a little like that's how my
He's
husband's
trained.
a
He's a
scientist too.
scientist.
Yeah.
Yes, that's his brain and everything is through that filter in his life. So he was supportive of me doing this because we've been together 19 years. He knows me like inside out. He wants to support everything that I do, but he was skeptical of like, what is this program? What information do you know? Tell me the facts, And I was like, I don't really know a lot of stuff. Like, I just know what these women are saying. So he was supportive but skeptical. And now I guess a couple of different things. One, he has decided he's like sort of on the ride with me, and I'll share with him what I'm doing and why. And he decided he wanted to do some of these things with me. Sort of the backstory of that is he has type 1 diabetes. So like health and eating and insulin and all this stuff, like that's actually like very important to him for his health. So he's been doing a lot of these things with me, and he's actually like a thin, fit guy. He's not an overweight person, but he's lost 16 pounds just by sort of making these lifestyle and eating adjustments that I've made and using some of these skills. So he's actually lost weight. He just like and then as a result from how he's been eating, like his insulin intake and his blood sugar control has been wildly different, like huge changes. Like I think it was last night or the night before. So he wears an insulin pump that gives him insulin, it does it in a bunch of ways. But anyway, it helps regulate his blood sugar. And his pump was alarming because he hadn't needed to have insulin in I forget, 14 or 16 hours, just because he was so well controlled and stable, which is, if you know anything about diabetes, that's a big deal, right? Your pump isn't giving you insulin it was are you there? Are you alive? And so in terms of that, now he's just he has had benefits and he's very a believer. But also in terms of me and how he would describe his experience of my experience, he's just you are truly a different person. He's it's like you've had a brain transplant or a lobotomy, but in a good way. Yeah. He's it's night and day. And he's known me since I'm 21 years old and I'm 40 now. So he's known me forever and seen all the iterations and knows my personality in and out. And he's everything about you is different. The way, just you and your presence and your energy and how you relate to our kids and how you are with me. God. Our relationship is in a completely different place than it was even over the summer. So he is he is so for it. So even so I signed up for Yummy Mummy Masters and he was so on board for that. He was of course, how could you not continue doing something that's just has been so impactful for you? And he really wants to do the program. He's come on, real
I know. I have to start we have to start the Delicious Daddy. We got to start the Delicious coming in 2025. I really want to do it. I know. My team's no more, nothing else. No.
I know.
And I'm no, all the things. We're going to write a book. We're going to do the Delicious Daddy. We're going to go to Bali. No, I'm just in 2025.
I love it. Yes. I support it.
I know. Okay. So anything else you feel like we didn't touch on or anything else you feel like the moms out there, the women out there need to know?
Oh my gosh. I think they just need to know that this will really change their life in such a positive way. and that it's so worth it. And it will just have so many far-reaching positive impacts. Like it's for weight loss and it's about weight loss, but it's also for and about like things you probably didn't even know you needed, or like maybe you do know you need, but you don't know what to do about it. You know, like it's such an awesome program for weight loss and for well-being and just, gosh. Yeah.
I love it. I know. I always say I like trick you guys into coming in. I'm like, come lose weight, except for we're going to like change your whole entire lives through the lens of weight loss, right? Like it's kind of like
that's exactly what it is. Weight loss is just the behavior, but any behavior could be there, right? Like it could be that you eat food because of XYZ, that you drink too much, that you lash out at people, that you compulsively shop. It could be anything here, but what we do is over here and fixing why we get here in YMX, right? It's like all about over here and what leads to this. It's not, it is about the food and that we are changing things, but
the food is just it's just a symptom.
It's just
right?
a symptom. Exactly. 100%.
So like if we heal it at the root, that the symptoms just go away. Yeah.
And I think other weight loss programs don't do that, right? They just tell you to eat different things or they tell you to work out, but there's no behavior change, right?
Yeah.
Like you're doing nothing different aside from eating what somebody else tells you to do. So this will be it.
Oh my God. Thank you so much, Sarah. I'm like hanging on your every word. It's so good. It's so helpful. I'm just so grateful. So you guys go sign up, like take the leap of faith, just do it. I know it's like the most famous motto ever, but I also heard this on a podcast the other day, like just do it is so powerful because of the word just, because it's trying to get you to overcome all of your excuses or all of your reasons. And so that's why I give a money back guarantee, so that you can take the leap of faith. Not because I want to give you your money back. I want you to lose weight for the last time. Of course, I will give it back to you. If it for some odd reason doesn't work, which is not going to happen. This works for everybody. You're not a special unicorn. Go to lauraconley.com and get your booty in there. We are going to start on January 17th. Can you imagine this summer? You're going to be rocking that bathing suit, playing with your kids at the beach, feeling so happy and content in your body. That is truly available for you. So go get it and have the best week ever. I love you all. Thanks again, Sarah.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Bye, guys. Hey, if you've enjoyed listening to this podcast, I would love it if you leave a rate, review, and a subscribe on whatever you're listening to this podcast in. Pretty please with a cherry on top. It would help me so much, and it would help all the other mamas out there hear this message. Thank you in advance. I really appreciate it. And you have to come check out the Yummy Mummy experience. It's my proven lose weight for the last time group coaching and course. Head to lauraconley.com and just click work with me. Other than that, you guys, I would love to give you a free gift. If you want your free listener only gift, go to lauraconley.com/gift. And from there, you will get your free best ever weight loss hack. So cool. The last thing I want to tell you, you guys, is I do have a free Facebook group. It's called, you guessed it, The Yummy Mummy. Lose weight for the last time, end body drama, and get food freedom. You can just search that in Facebook, or again, you can head to the show notes and you'll find the link there. All right, you guys, have the best day ever.